Hello, children. Welcome. Oh, I'm just so happy to see all of your bright, shining faces today. So today, we're going to explore a very, very special and wonderful place. It's a place of absolutely endless sand, beautiful, vibrant colors, and some truly amazing animals. We're jumping straight into our lesson about the Great Indian Desert, also known as the Thar Desert. But before we really start our geography lesson, I want to tell you a little story. Let's think about Aditi and her brother Abyas. One evening, they were at a fair, and they heard this gentle, incredibly beautiful folk music. They walked over and saw a super colorful puppet stall. Aditi told Abyas that these beautiful, bright puppets actually came from Rajasthan. Seeing them, Abyas kind of started wondering, well, what is Rajasthan really like? He started picturing these vast deserts and tall camels. Aditi told him she actually visited the Thar Desert last winter with her family. She told him all about the lively music, the colorful art, and that magical sand. Hearing her stories made Abyas want to learn absolutely everything about the desert. And you know what? That is exactly what we are going to do today. Now, taking a quick look at our lesson plan today, we're going to cover Welcome to the Thar Desert, the amazing features of the desert climate and animals, desert life and challenges, smart desert solutions, and we'll wrap it all up with a quick classroom quiz. All right, moving into part 1. Welcome to the Thar Desert. Now, you might be wondering, where exactly is this giant sandy wonderland even located? Let's take a look at this map right here to see where this giant desert sits. The Great Indian Desert, or the Thar Desert, is a huge, huge dry area in the northwestern part of India. It's actually one of the largest deserts in the entire world. Can you tell me which states the desert covers? Let's think about this for a second. Well, if you look really closely, you'll see it covers parts of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Punjab, and Haryana. Mostly, though, it's right there in western Rajasthan. Right to the south of it, we have the Aravalli mountain range, and to the west, it crosses over into our neighboring country, Pakistan. It is literally massive, about 800 kilometers long. So just remember, the Thar Desert is a massive dry region, mostly in western Rajasthan, stretching all the way over to Pakistan. Okay, part 2, amazing features of the desert. Let's explore some of the totally unique shapes and spots you'll find out there in the sand. So, here's our very first big question for the class today. What exactly is a sand dune? Have you ever heard this word before? Let's think about it for a moment. Imagine a mountain, but much, much softer. Well, let's find out. A dune is essentially a big hill made completely out of sand, right in the middle of the desert. Now, how is it formed? Well, imagine a giant fan blowing loose sand into a big pile. Out in the desert, the strong wind blows the sand into these huge piles, and that is exactly how sand dunes are formed. They can be super small, or they can literally be as tall as a house. And you know what the most magical part is? They keep changing shape every single day, because the wind just never stops moving that sand around. So remember, a sand dune is a moving hill of sand shaped entirely by the wind. Now, I've got another think and answer question for you all. Can you imagine a natural garden made entirely out of salt? Not green grass, not pretty flowers, but shiny white salt. Do you think such a place even exists out there in the desert? Well, yes, it actually does. And this brings us to our next tricky word, salt marsh. A salt marsh in a desert is a very special kind of flatland. Sometimes salty water gathers right there. And then, when the blazing hot sun dries that water up, it leaves behind this shiny white salt all over the ground. It literally looks like a bright white carpet. The Run of Kutch is the biggest and most famous salt marsh in the Thar Desert. So, to summarize quickly, a salt marsh is a flat area covered in a bright white carpet of salt that's left behind by dried up water. And we have one more amazing feature to learn about today. An oasis. Think of an oasis kind of like a beautiful, small green park just sitting right in the middle of a huge, hot, dry desert. It's a really special spot where underground water actually comes up to the surface. And because there's water, trees and plants can suddenly grow there. People and animals use it for much-needed shelter. So remember, children, an oasis is a place in the desert where water is available, making it completely possible for plants, animals, and people to live happily. Moving on to part 3, desert climates and animals. Let's take a look at just how tough the weather gets and how animals actually manage to survive it. Now, the climate of the Thar Desert is incredibly extreme. Let's follow the timeline of the desert seasons. Starting in January, well, that's the coldest month, and sometimes it gets so incredibly cold that there's even frost. Then we skip forward a bit to May and June. These are the absolute hottest months. The sun is just blazing down, and these super strong dust storms blow through the air. But then, from July to September, something really special happens. The monsoon. This is when the desert finally gets its rain, although honestly, it's not a lot. During this time, the Luni River flows. The Luni River is the only river in the entire Thar Desert. And most of the year, it's totally dry, but the monsoon brings it right back to life. So remember, the desert experiences freezing winters, incredibly hot summers, and a very short monsoon season when the Luni River flows. Because the weather out there is so hot and so dry, animals have to be very, very smart to live there. And this brings us to a big science word: adaptation. Can you say that with me? Adaptation. It basically means having special physical features or habits that help an animal survive in a super tough environment. Let's look at a really perfect example of this. Can anyone guess why camels are known as the ship of the desert? I am sure many of you already know this one. Let's think. Why a ship? Very good. It's because they help people safely travel across this massive sea of sand, just like a ship travels right across the ocean water. Let's look at how they are perfectly adapted to do exactly this. Let's look a bit more closely at the camel's physical adaptations. Did you know camels have super long eyelashes to keep the flying sand right out of their eyes? Plus, they have a big hump on their back where they actually store energy from food so they can go a whole week without drinking a single drop of water. And just look at their wide, padded feet. Now imagine, if you walk on hot sand barefoot, it burns, right? And you sink right into it. Well, camels have wide, padded feet to stop them from sinking into the loose sand and to protect them from that burning heat. So our micro summary here is, camels have absolutely unique body parts that make them the perfect helpers for traveling and surviving in the harsh desert. All right, part 4, desert life and challenges. Let's see what it really takes to live out there in the sand. You know, the absolute biggest challenge in the Thar Desert is just the sheer lack of water. Just look at this beautiful but very serious scene of the Paniharis. Every single day, these brave women have to walk very, very long distances across the hot sand dunes just to carry pots of water back to their families. Because there is so little rain, farming is also incredibly hard. And if crops don't grow, animals simply don't have enough to eat. Even wild birds, like the endangered great Indian bustard, really struggle to find enough water to survive. To summarize, a severe lack of water makes farming and daily life a constant, tough struggle for the people and the animals of the desert. Moving to part 5, smart desert solutions. Now let's see how people actually fight back against these challenges. First off, we need to learn a very important word: conservation. It means the careful saving and protection of precious resources. Out in the desert, it means making absolutely sure that every single drop of water counts. You just never waste water when you live in the desert. Let's see exactly how they manage to save it. They use a really smart method called rainwater harvesting. And here are the simple steps. Step 1, when that rare rain finally falls during the monsoon, they don't just let it wash away. Step 2, the rainwater flows into a large underground tank called a tanka or a par. Step 3, because the tank is deep underground, the hot sun cannot evaporate the water. It stays safe and perfectly cool. Step 4, families can then pull up this clean water to use for cooking and drinking all through those long dry months. So remember, rainwater harvesting is a super smart way to collect and save that rare rain in underground tanks for the dry months. And we've got another totally amazing solution here. The desert obviously has a big problem: extreme sunshine causing intense heat. But look at these giant solar panels sitting right next to the cracked earth. The government actually turned this massive problem into a superpower. They set up giant solar panels everywhere. These panels catch that intense sunshine and turn it directly into electricity. This gives the desert its very own clean, green energy, which is absolutely wonderful for the environment. So to summarize quickly, the people of the Thar Desert survive by cleverly saving rainwater and using the bright, blazing sun to create solar power. All right, part 6, quick classroom quiz. Sit up straight, everyone. It is time to test your knowledge. I'm going to ask the question, I will pause, and you must think of the answer right in your head. Ready? Let's go. Question 1. True or false, the Thar Desert is famous for waterfalls? Think about it for a second. Do we really have waterfalls in a dry desert? False. Very good. It is famous for sand dunes and salt marshes. Okay, question 2. Fill in the blank. The blank river is the only river that flows through the desert. Do you remember its name from the monsoon season? It's the Luni River. Excellent job. Question 3. Multiple choice. Camels are also called the A. King of the desert or B. Ship of the desert. Which one is it? Yes, it is B, the ship of the desert, because they help us travel across the sand. Give yourselves a big, big round of applause. Before you go today, I want you to just think about this. If you could invent one brand new smart solution to help people living in the desert, what would it be? Excellent work, everyone. Today we learned about the Thar Desert, its climate, plants, animals, people, and the challenges they face. We also discovered how rainwater harvesting and solar energy help improve life in the desert. Revise the chapter once more, practice the questions, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Happy learning!